Hello everyone, Jennifer Maker here. It's a beautiful day to make this spooky and kooky pumpkin shadow box. Now, this might look like a challenge because of the shape and also because we're not going to use a pre-made frame, but it is really just a shadow box with some special elements and techniques. And don't worry, I'll show you exactly what to do. From cutting the materials to making the frame, it is easier than you think. And the detailed cuts might look difficult, but that's where the Cricut cutting machine will help us out. I'll show you how to get perfect cuts for the layers and the frame pieces in plain or glitter cardstock. The cardstock is really where we need to start. If you don't have high quality materials, you'll have a hard time getting consistent, clean cuts. Better quality cardstock, like the 65-pound white paper I've listed, is made with longer, more uniform fibers, so they cut instead of tear when the blade goes through them. The cardstock I chose makes the sides and layers so it's sturdy enough to cut the intricate details, but folds easily to shape the structure. I used all white so my lights can shine through nicely, but feel free to experiment with other colors. And then I used this pretty orange glitter cardstock for the pumpkin on the front. I love the sparkle. Now, getting clean cuts can be a challenge when you're learning how to do Cricut paper crafts because there are a lot of variables. The design is a big part of it, so I've made sure that our design has smooth shapes that won't give your machine trouble. The material setting controls how hard the machine presses the fine point blade down during the cuts, as well as its speed and whether it uses one pass or does multiples to complete the cuts. I'll show you the settings that work best for me. Just remember that not all machines are the same, so it's a really good idea to make a test cut first, just in case you need to adjust the pressure. Now, I used my Cricut Maker 3 to cut the materials for this project, but you don't have to have this exact one. The original Maker, the Cricut Explorer, Explorer Air 2, Explorer 3, the Venture, and the Joy Extra will cut everything with no problems. The cuts are pretty intricate, so if you shrink it to fit on a Joy, I don't know how well that will work. I don't really recommend it. I didn't try it, sorry. I think it's going to get just a little bit too small. Now, I used my trusty green standard grip machine mat for all the cardstock, but I started with a fresh mat for this project. Keeping your cardstock perfectly in place lets the Cricut work at its peak efficiency, so it's less likely to tear the material. And while most of the assembly uses slots and tabs, you will need some glue for the base. And I'll show you why this glue, which is Barely Art Precision Craft Glue, is my favorite for adhering the tiny tabs and getting a super secure result. No, they do not pay me to say that. I just really love this glue. And then we'll use one of my favorite combinations, clear glue dots and fairy lights, to finish assembling this project and lighting it all up. Remember, check out my tools and materials list for everything. It should be below this video, including links on where to get everything reliably. So let me show you where to get the free design files, and then we'll get started in Cricut Design Space. Step 1, get my pumpkin shadow box designs. First, download the designs at the link below this video. The folder has SVG and DXF files that you can cut with the cutting machine. There's also a PDF that you can cut by hand if you need to. I'll show you how to prepare the SVG in Cricut Design Space. In this video, I'm using the Cricut Maker 3, but you can use any cutting machine that can cut 8.5 by 11 or 12 by 12 inch material. Inside the SVG folder, I have two designs that you can use. One is a trick-or-treat scene called Boo, and the other has classic Halloween jack-o'-lanterns and is called Web because of their spider friend. There are two versions of each design. One with score lines that you can make using a scoring tool, and one with dash cut lines that only needs the fine point blade. The scored version has score in the file name, and the dash cut line version has no score in the file name. I'll show you how to make the version with score lines so we can learn how to adjust the project in Cricut Design Space. If you want to make the dash line no score version instead, I'll mention it when your steps will be slightly different. Now, if you're not sure how to upload, Go to jennifermaker.com/svgs to learn how to unzip and upload SVG files. Step 2, prepare your pumpkin shadow box design. On a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, click Upload and Upload Image. Click Browse and find the file you need. The designs are probably in your Downloads folder, so select the one that you want to use. I'll select the score version of the Boo SVG. Then click Continue and Upload to add the design to your canvas. You can zoom out to see all of it by clicking the minus sign in the corner. The top left piece is the front frame, and the top right is the back frame, so it's mostly solid with a hole for adding lights. The 4 tabbed rectangles are the walls, which will add to the frames to create the project shape. Then the 4 circles are the design elements, which will layer to create the scene. And the pumpkin is the decorative front. I'll cut the pumpkin from orange glitter cardstock, but everything else will be made with plain white cardstock, so the light can shine through easier. Of course, you can experiment with different cardstock options to make the shadow box your own. Now, since the design is so intricate, I don't recommend reducing the size of the file. So click Save and give your project a name. Then ungroup the design. I always recommend ungrouping designs because they're grouped by default. If you're using a file without score lines, the design is all ready to cut. There's nothing else you have to do. But since we're using the score version, we have a little more work to do. My design has score lines wherever we'll need to crease the paper, so anything with tabs will need to be adjusted. In the Layers panel, see how everything other than the pumpkin has an arrow pointing to the right? That means there are at least 2 layers grouped to make that element. So click the top one's arrow. Now you can see a layer with just lines above a solid layer for the frame's entire shape. I always set intended score lines to be red, so you can click the top layer and check the color box to make sure you have the right thing selected. Now, if we left these lines as basic cut operation, your Cricut would cut off all of the tabs. We don't want that, so it's important that you select the Operation drop-down menu and select Score instead. The changes are hard to see on the small tabs, but see how the solid line along the bottom turned into dashes? I'll click Undo just so you can watch for the change while I do it again. Okay, now the Cricut will know we want to score these lines instead of cut them. There's one more step before we can successfully make this piece, but let me show you why we need to do it. If I just go ahead and select my machine right now and click Make, the first mat will have just the score lines on it, which we won't be able to do anything with on the full sheet of cardstock like this. And the next mat will be the frame piece, but the score lines aren't even there, so we won't have any help making straight creases. That's not going to work, okay? So I'm going to click Cancel so we can fix this. Back on the canvas, select both the score layer and the basic cut layer that you want to keep together. You can click and drag your cursor over both on the canvas, but that can be difficult with busy designs. So instead, I recommend you hold down the Shift key while clicking both in the Layers panel to make it a little easier on yourself. Make sure you have the correct pieces highlighted and then click Attach. Now a layer called Attach will be at the top of your Layers panel. If you click the little arrow again, you can see that both of the layers are in there. And if you click and drag the element on the canvas, they stay together, so the score lines will be made in the correct spots to make folding everything much easier. Let's adjust one more together on the frame's back piece. Select the element and its arrow in the Layers panel to show the intended score layer above the basic cut layer. Click just the one that needs to change and use the Operation menu to switch it to Score. Then select both and click Attach. See, that's not so bad. It's easier than you thought, right? Well, I hope so, at least. Keep working through the rest of the grouped elements to adjust and attach their score layers. You'll get faster as you go, I promise. Now you can cut and the Cricut will put the score lines in the correct spots for creases. When you're ready, check that the correct machine is selected and click Make. If you see a mat with just score lines, remember some of your layers may not have been attached correctly. So just click cancel and try again. It's okay. Now I'm going to use 12 by 12 inch cardstock for everything, but just know that the elements will fit on 8.5 by 11 inch material if that's what you have. Just remember to set the material size to match your size of paper. Now scroll through the list and make sure that everything looks correct. Then click back on the first one. That way, Design Space knows we want to work on that one first when we move to the next screen. And then click Continue. On the Make screen, check the material for your first mat. I'm using the medium cardstock 80-pound material setting for my white cardstock with more pressure. But remember, all machines are just a little different, so you may need to experiment and adjust your settings. And since we're cutting a few mats of the same material, check the Remember Material Settings box to save time between your white mats. Now, since my white cardstock is the same on the front and back, I'll just line it up with the grid on a green standard grip machine mat and press it in place. If you're using a different size, make sure you position the cardstock on the mat so it covers the design areas shown on your screen. Even if your cardstock feels like it's secure, I want you to use a brayer to roll over the entire surface. That will really press the material down into the adhesive on the mat so it will stay in place while the machine makes the cuts. This really makes a difference in getting good clean cuts. Now check that your premium fine point blade is clean and in the clamp because any dust or paper fibers can mess up your cuts. If you're using the dash cut line design, that's all you have to do. But since I'm using the score version, my screen is also showing score tool options. The choices depend on the machine you're using. If you're on a maker like I am right now, you may notice that it defaults to the scoring wheel, but you can click the Edit Tools link in Cricut Design Space here to swap from the scoring wheel to the scoring stylus. If you're using the single scoring wheel, Design Space will prompt you to insert it when it's time. All right, when you're ready, load the machine mat into your Cricut, then press the flashing button to begin cutting. If you're prompted, insert or remove blades and scoring tools as you go. Now, when it's all finished cutting, and before you unload your mat, I want you to check to see if the cut went all the way through by gently lifting a corner of the material. If the cut didn't go all the way through, press the material back down on your mat and press the middle button again for another pass. The cuts will be made in the exact same spots, and this can really save your layer if some of the original cuts were just a little shallow. When the cuts are complete, unload the mat, flip it over onto your work surface, and roll it back to release the cardstock. This helps prevent the material from curling and ripping. Cut the next few mats using plain white cardstock for the frame pieces. Make sure the correct tool is listed. When it's time for an intricate layer, take a moment to clean your blade. My favorite quick way to clean it is to simply poke it into a ball of aluminum foil several times to knock any fibers or adhesive off. Or you can use rubbing alcohol and a lint-free cloth like a little prep pad. Just be very careful because the blade is sharp. For the best results, clean the blade between each intricate cut layer and after cutting glittery materials, because that can really stick to the blade in housing. You can slide your spatula gently under intricate pieces to remove them, and a weeding tool or tweezers can help remove any little pieces that get stuck. If you do have trouble with any of your cuts, check out my Cricut tips and tricks for cleaner cuts at jennifermaker.com/blades. And if you're cutting the pumpkin from glitter cardstock, set the material to glitter cardstock with more pressure. And since the glitter cardstock is different on each side, place it glitter side up on your green standard grip machine mat. Remember to brayer it down again because the cardstock is thicker than the plain type and it really needs to stay in place. Then use the same steps to load, cut, and remove the piece. Here are what my cut pieces look like. Step 3. Assemble your pumpkin shadow box. Find the plain white cardstock frame piece with tabs and a circle cut out, and place it face up on your work surface. With the piece face up, crease the bottom rectangle up along the horizontal line. Try to make the crease as straight as possible. Use the scraper tool to help you if you need it. Then fold the side tab up along its long crease line. Now look closely at the tab and you'll see smaller tabs at its edges. These help keep the pieces together, and I'll call them wings. Fold them in over the small tab. Go around the circle, folding the rectangle tabs the same way so they bend where the edges meet the middle. Now hold a wall piece with the long line of tabs facing up and the edge tab to the left. Fold the wall's tabs and their wing tabs up along the creases. Don't forget the one on the short edge too. Hold a second wall piece so the tabs face down and the single tab is on the left this time. Crease the tabs and wings up the same way as the other wall piece. Take the second wall piece you prepared and fold the short edge tab's wings in to flatten the paper. Now slot the folded tab into the back frame's base slot from the bottom. Unfold the wing tabs and press them down to keep the first tab in place. If you have trouble unfolding the wings, your weeding tool can help you out. Just gently poke the tip under the wing to pull it up, then smooth it down. Feed the rest of the first wall's tabs into the matching slots around the back frame until you reach the middle top. You'll have a slot at the end of the wall strip. Now we'll add the other wall to the other side of the back piece. This time, the first tab is on the frame and the slot is on the wall. Put them together, then work around the edge, slotting the rest of the tabs together. Don't forget to fold the wing tabs down to put the wall piece in, then unfold them to keep the connection secure. When the walls meet at the top of the frame, connect one end's tabs into the other's slot. Work around the walls, gently flattening the tab's wings to keep the cardstock secure. Repeat the wall attachment process for the front of the frame using the same steps. Once the frame pieces are ready, stack your inner layers face up in order. The Boo design has a solid back, then the moon layer, then the house, and finally the trick-or-treater and trees. Separate the first layer and place it face down so one small tab is to the side. We're going to fold the creases to curve the tab in toward the main section. Now I'm right-handed, so I'll work on a tab to the right, but working from the other side might be easier if you're left-handed. Align your scraper along the outer crease line on the tab and fold the small section up. Keep moving toward the main area, supporting and folding the other creases the same way so they start rolling into a triangle or square shape. Use your fingers to pinch the curved tab together so it stays rolled. Repeat the steps with the other 7 tabs on the layer. Take your time to make the creases straight and keep the rolled paper pieces in place. These will eventually act as spacers between the design layers to give the scene depth. Then repeat the steps with the other 3 inner layer pieces. Remember, the rolled tab should be on the back of each layer. Lay out your pieces face down on your work surface, all in the same orientation to make sure everything looks correct so far. Now let's test fit the box to make sure it will go together nicely. Remember, the piece with the small circle cutout is the back of the box, and the piece with the large circle cutout is the front. Try to put the front and back pieces together to form the box. If you have any trouble fitting the 2 pieces together, try smoothing down the tabs inside again or adding small pieces of clear tape to hold them down. Now that you know the box will go together, separate the front and back pieces. Lay the back piece in front of you. Make sure the flat section is at the bottom. Now don't try to put your lights in now, those will go in at the end, just so you know. Take the back solid layer and place it into the box with the spacers facing down. Make sure there is a spacer right in the middle at the top and the bottom. We want all the spacers to stack on top of each other, and their placement will be important as we start adding the designed layers. Use the weeding tool to gently push the layer and roll tabs inside so they lay flat inside the box. Continue placing the layers inside the same way, with the moon piece next, the house piece after that, and the trick-or-treater last. Make sure the spacers line up so the layers will be sturdy and the scene's layout will look correct. When all of the inner layers are in place, add the front lid of the box. I found it easiest to slide it on starting with the bottom point. If the box doesn't want to close all the way, use your weeding tool to reach in and adjust the tabs, spacers, or any areas that seem to be interfering. You can also take the lid off to check the alignment and try again. Once the box closes well, place the decorative front face down nearby. Add craft glue to the front of the white frame piece, but don't get very close to the inner edge or the glue might seep into the shadow box. Carefully place the front piece face up so the flat bottom and inner curves align with the shadow box frame. Gently press the frame piece down to stick it to the glue. Once it's secure, carefully flip the shadow box over and gently press it down to keep the glitter cardstock flat as the glue dries. When the front is all dry, unwind your LED fairy lights and make sure they work. And then, with the shadow box face down, feed the loose end of the lights into the small circle opening. Once they're mostly in, you can flip the project over and turn them on to see how they look. If you don't like the way the fairy lights are distributed within the shadow box, gently pull them out and try again. When you reach the end of the strand, stick a glue dot to the back of the battery pack, not the side with the screws though. You want to make sure that the battery compartment is available so you can switch the batteries out later if you need to. And then press the battery pack to the back of the shadow box so it's hidden, but you can still access the switch and screws to turn the lights on and off and to replace the battery. Step 4, show it off. Here are what my finished pumpkin shadow boxes look like. Aren't these just so cute and spooky and kooky? I love how they turned out. Isn't this pumpkin shadow box so much fun? This shaped frame really makes this shadow box special. And since it's not in a pre-made frame, you can place it wherever you want. Just make sure you can reach the light switch in the back, right? And then you can add some Halloween fun anywhere. And if you want to make your own scene inside the pumpkin, you can as a part of my Advance with Jennifer Maker program over at jennifermaker.com/advance. It's fun, easy, and a really great way to make these popular projects unique and personalized to your own interests. Advance is a special ongoing program for all skill levels. I can help you advance from new to beginner or advanced to pro and everything in between. It's filled with monthly projects, like this pumpkin, that go beyond the basics. You get advanced access to my popular designs, new and exclusive templates to personalize, new and exclusive step-by-step videos to show you how to use them, elements, reference and cheat sheets, and most importantly, the inspiration and motivation to truly make and advance your skills to the next level. I hope you found this workshop helpful and that you'll make your own pumpkin shadow box. Please let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm always happy to help. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love. And happy Halloween!